Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast. Now get shit done and smash that subscribe button now. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast Interview. And today, guys, we got another rockstar, amazing, badass guest here on the show. Our guest today, Luciano Costa. So Luciano, you guys, just to give you a little backstory before we jump in here. So he is a real estate broker, developer in the U.S. and Brazil, amongst other things. He has over 20 years of experience in this business. Has sold over 4,000 properties over his career. And through this experience, he started off as an individual agent like we all do. We all kind of start at the same place. And then 12 months into that journey, decided to start his team, had huge success there. 5 years into his journey, then starts his brokerage, and it just continues to catapult, from there throughout his whole entire career. So this is a dude that, through ups, downs, Great Recession, whatever, has just been able to continue to grow and expand and navigate through all these different changes of the last 2+ decades. So he's, owned Century 21 franchises, Remax franchises, other independent agencies. But now today, he is also the owner and founder of Signa Realty, which I'm excited to jump into Luciano's journey. I'm really excited to have you on the show, my friend.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, Josh. I've been always a fan, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's really an honor to be here with you today.
Yeah, no, I truly appreciate that. I appreciate the support and kind words, man. And I just love, one thing I love about this podcast is not only does it go out there and we have hundreds of thousands of agents that are listening and watching this every month, that it helps them and has a big impact on them. But then on a selfish level, it's like, man, I got to pick brilliant minds like yours and people that have been in this business and created success in a lot of different ways. And dude, I mean, you're a mover shaker. And the cool thing about it too is and that this 20-year span, I mean, there's been a lot of different markets, different variations of markets. And, you've been able to adapt, shift, and expand regardless of the market conditions, and all that we'll get into. But before we jump into, again, what you're doing today, all the amazing things that you're up to, I'm really intrigued in our guest journeys that started this in this journey in the first place. If you rewind the clocks, what led you getting into the real estate business? How'd this all begin?
That's a funny story, actually. I was a contractor working in a house, and I saw the guy coming in and every day with a nice car, and I was working doing his roof at that time. And I kept watching this guy. He came with a convertible car. He got his tennis bag, and he left the house, and then he came back and he left again with a golf bag. And I ended up asking him, hey, what do you do for a living? And the guy told me, I'm in real estate. I sell properties. I said, why you keep playing tennis all day and golf? And, it seems like it's so much fun. And he said, yeah, that's the way I meet people, and that's what I do, and I'm very successful. And I kept that in mind, and years later, I ended up buying a house here near Boston, Massachusetts, and some friends actually called me up and said, hey, Luciano, what did you do? How did you do it? And I helped them, teaching a little bit about the whole process of getting approved and the experience that I had at that time. And I ended up deciding to get my real estate license. It took almost a year. I was at that point, I was working within another company, being a cable guy at that time. And, since then I got my license. It became a little, I ended up deciding to go all in. I quit the job and went to work as a real estate agent. And it wasn't easy. I saw that I perhaps made a big mistake because, living out of commission alone wasn't actually good. I had some reserves and so on, but it was getting really tough. But at that time, I decided to work long hours at this real estate office that decided to hire me, and things went well. So I never played tennis. I never got a client or a buyer playing tennis or golf, but it's been pretty satisfying, and I love what I do, and it's been great. Great journey.
I mean, it's just crazy. You know, I'm guessing if you rewind the clocks to when you were working on that roof and watching that guy, you probably would have never fathomed, 20 years from now, I'm going to have this, a real estate empire, if you will, companies in the United States and developments in the US and in Brazil and startup businesses in both countries. And, it's just crazy how life can work out, if you're willing to make those commitments and make those hard decisions and, risk, I guess. A lot of people like that security and safety, and you had to, like you said, you cut the cord, you went all in, and a lot of people just, they're not willing to do that out of fear of failure, whatever it may be. And, before we get into that first year, and then we'll kind of continue down the journey from there, I'm curious, man, because, there's a lot of different, ways or mindsets or so forth, ways to build a real estate business. And, for most, they jump into this business and they have a lot of success as a realtor. They sell a lot of properties, and so forth, but there's not a lot of them that then morph that. Because, if you look at being a real estate agent, according to the IRS, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. But at the end of the day, you have a job. You stop showing up, like the money stops coming in. Right. And there's a very small percent that then take that momentum, but then pivot it into really becoming a truly successful business owner like you've been able to do. And so with that being said, man, I'm curious of did you grow up in your younger years or have experience or did you have experience around business that led to your mind thinking, because I guess a true business owner operator mind is different than just a salesperson's mind, right? Or was that just something that just kind of clicked as you jumped into the business?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur since I was like 14 years old. My first company was, I had a store to sell stereo systems for cars and alarms at the time. And that did not went well. Like on my second year of, spending money on this business, I went belly up, and it was a good experience, but I kept going and trying different things and learning a little bit, but most of it, Josh, was hands-on. I mean, when I started getting really busy in real estate, I understood that I could not do it alone. So I hired my first assistant, in my first year in business. And I realized that I could not grow up that business by doing it by myself, because I found a way that I could generate more business than I could handle. And I believe I was on the right place on the right time. Let's say that, because I started in the business was back in 2001. The whole real estate market was just getting back up after a good recession in the real estate market. And I was there. I had the advantage of speaking another language, and I ended up serving a community that didn't have many realtors, Brazilian realtors at the time. So pretty much today, all the guys that worked with me, they became successful real estate brokers, but they started with me long time ago. And that was a good thing, but I didn't have any experience I ended up learning as you go. I hired the right people. I didn't have much experience as an administrative person, on the administrative side of the business. But I always had that in mind. The way you grow the business is to recruiting and getting talent to your team. And I believe I was lucky in some ways to find the right people, and they came and they joined the company at the right time.
Yep. Love it, man. All right, dude. So I know a lot of ears perked up when you mentioned that you found a way that you could generate more business than you could handle, and that was within your first year. It sounds like, where you really identified the niche, your niche, right? And allowed you to specialize and kind of find your own blue ocean, if you will. But then you also mentioned a little bit ago when we were talking about your journey that led to this of, your first year not being easy. And so you just, worked a ton of hours. So, I'm curious, when we look at the first year, like at what point in your first year did that click, right? Where you were able then to, when it went from, okay, hey, I'm struggling and I'm just working a lot of hours, I'm kind of spinning my wheels, to, man, I got to niche down and be able to get clarity on your niche.
Well, the first year was really tough. I realized that the real estate was a contact business, and I ended up, coming to the office very early in the morning, like 7:00 in the morning. And I was always the last one to leave. Sometimes I left the office at 11:00 at night. And I decided that I would make as many contacts inside of my friends and family and people that I knew, as many contacts that I could, on a daily basis. And sometimes it takes time for you to get results. In my first year, I made like $58,000 in gross commission. But every seed that I planted on that first year, I ended up harvesting on my second one, which I multiplied that by 10 times my GCI. So it was like by the end of the first year when I realized that I could do it, but I wasn't, sure, because I left a job that I was making way more money than I did on my first year in real estate. And I was working twice as hard and, making almost half of what I used to. But I kept going. And the second year was really rewarding. I didn't really got those results on my first year. It was actually very disappointing. But as they say, if you want to conquer the island, you got to burn the boat. I didn't want to go back to where I was working before, and I'm glad I kept going and I stayed in the business.
Yep, 100%, man. It's like one of the analogies one of my mentors always uses is it's like pumping a well. In the beginning, when you're pumping, the well's dry, you're pumping, and you're pumping hard and nothing's coming out. Then a little bit starts to come out, and then all of a sudden it gets to a point where, the flow is coming out, the flow is heavy, and then now you're not having to pump as hard. You're still having to pump, but not as hard. And that first year was kind of the crazy pump to get the water flowing, and then so then as you mentioned, you went from 58 grand to 10xing, so over $500,000 in GCI your second year. Now, at that same time, when you're reaching out on these contacts, did you already know that this was going to be your niche? Did you already start targeting, the community and the niche that you were going after? And it took that 12 months for this to really start to pay off, or did that come after?
Well, that was actually happening. I had a lot of referrals. I started calling people and pretty much in my sphere of influence. But as I started selling and working with clients, I got a lot of referrals by that first year, and people started telling me, hey, you need to let people know that you are in business. And then I started doing ads in small newspapers, community newspapers. They have this radio station that it's like for churches that Brazilian people would like used to listen, because they have like these churches programs on this specific radio station. And I ended up reaching out, and I got to a point that my office was like a dentist office or a medical office, where you were working inside and you had people waiting for you outside. I had to put chairs, and you have like always 3-4 people waiting to be, to talk to you. And that's when I realized that I had found the right niche, and I was there on the right time, prepared, and I was ready on the right time, and that was it. I hired my first assistant. I ended up actually showing houses at that time. She would talk to get these people approved and ready to go, and she would let me know what houses they wanted to see. I used to park the car outside, and she accompanied the client to the car, and then I left the client there, got another one. So I got really busy on my second year, and it was really good. That's when I decided to recruit some other buyer agents to work with me, and the team ended up growing year after year.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it, dude. I think that's anybody in this business's kind of dream of. You're attracting, not chasing. Now you have an abundant. I honestly don't know anybody else other than you and your brother that have ever built a business that have had a waiting room of people waiting. So again, when we talk about that blue ocean, meaning you went after something that wasn't saturated, where you're in high demand, it's just massive results. It's just so impressive and insane. And for those that are watching and listening, if they're thinking about maybe, well, how do I do that? How do I get my because we know that riches are in the niches. Those that specialize, those that really niche down, it's very difficult to be all things to all people and really grow and expand. But now that knowing what you know and being able to kind of reverse engineer this, what advice would you give for those watching and listening that want to create their own niche and really specialize at a high point where they become in high demand as well? And each of us, our niches are going to be different. You talked about, you speak Brazilian, so you had, and there wasn't business there. So just so nobody has a limiting belief of, well, I don't speak a second language, I don't, whatever. There's so many different niches out there, but I'm guessing that the strategy can be applied to really any niche. With that being said, so what would that look like? As you kind of break this down, reverse engineer this, what has been the true success to, really being able to focus on that niche, expanding that niche, and so forth?
Well, as you said, there are so many different niches out there. It's hard. It's not easy to find the right niche, but I think any real estate agent that, it's beginning right now, I think you should specialize, in some areas, be like the specialist in a town, or being a buyer agent or a seller agent, and know everything about what you do in that specific area or that specific niche. Sometimes working with first-time buyers or not, or relocation companies and people, there are so many different ways that you could specialize and learn and be good at that one thing that might drive buyers and sellers in that special niche to the agent. I would say it's not an easy thing, and I don't think I have the answer of how to find, because it's very particular.
Yeah.
I think that's what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, we all have different strengths and different life experiences and different things that can lead to that. And as you said, it's not easy, but the great thing about it, if it was easy, more people would be doing it. And that's why it makes it so lucrative and successful, is you got to be willing to invest the time and go down the journey and, so forth. I mean, I'm sure it took, time for you to really discover of, holy crap, this is where I need to put all my energy and focus on, because this thing's going to blow up, and it does take time. But cool thing is, if you're committed to it, you'll invest that time, do that soul searching, and go out there and find it and figure it out. Because once you really niche down, then it gives you can start getting clarity on, okay, well, what are the problems that my niche has, right? How can I then become that solution that they have that isn't offered in the marketplace, that has them lining up out of the door where I have to have my assistant walking them out to my car, right? So then from there, how did you start identifying, how you could solve their problems? What were their problems that you guys were able to solve that then created this demand that you were able to offer these high level services to them that they needed, wanted, that again created so much demand where you had more business than you could handle?
Well, I ended up actually trying to give my clients a higher level of services, little details like, I was at the beginning, I don't do that anymore, but at the beginning, I had clients calling me at 10 o'clock at night and I was there. It wasn't healthy. After years doing that, I ended up actually burning out a little bit. But at that time, I was there for the client. And, most of these guys were like first-time buyers. And we decided to, instead of taking a position of trying to sell something, to be in a position of educating, informing, and giving them the right information so they could make a better decision there. And partnerships with mortgage brokers and so on, in the way that we could, get people to listen and learn what they had to do in order to get approved for a loan, for example. Since they were like first-time buyers, there were so many things that they have to fix on their credit or income taxes and so on. And I think that position of informing and educating and serving the clients more than anything, and that desire was actually something that we nurtured in our team and the way in our culture. And that made a difference, along, as I kept saying, I got a lot of referrals because of that. And the business started to a point that people wanted to work with us because of the quality of the service that we were doing, and kept doing like gifts at closing, and sometimes going to clients' house after they moved in, and we told them to invite some friends, and I would be there to cook for them. And, and some friends, they liked that very much, and they became clients afterwards. Those small details in the way you serve people, I think that made a huge difference in my career and my business afterwards.
Yeah, love it, man. So then, sounds like so after year one, due to the demand and so forth. I mean, you didn't just hire somebody because you wanted to kick up your feet and be, and like you said, you never ended up playing golf or tennis, right? I mean, you hired out of necessity because you were bursting out of the seams and you needed to be you couldn't serve all these clients and abundance of clients. So you really grew your team, especially out of the gate, for what I say to be at least my own personal belief, the right reasons. Then at year 5, it looks like you decided then at that point to go from managing and running your team to then now starting a brokerage. What led to you to that decision that was time, that was the next progression for you and it was time for you to do that?
Well, that happened when the team was growing up so much and our production levels were like bigger than most of the offices that we have in the area, that I decided to, go independently. I was with Remax at the time as a team, and I ended up actually going I decided to become a real estate office and growing the business a little more. But I don't think it was the right thing to do at that time. If you ask me, it was a good move. I don't know, because I ended up actually becoming a business runner instead of being a real estate agent and a team leader in most of the cases, because I have so many other things to worry about. The business made a lot of more money, but at the end of the year, you would make less money because you had so many expenses and so many things that you had to pay. And before, I didn't have to as a team under a company. But this ended up growing. As I said, the demand was good. The culture of the company was in place. Buyers and sellers liked working with us at the time. And then I kept growing the business a little more. I ended up going to the construction side as well, buying small parcels of land and building houses and so on. But I think at that time I lost a little bit of focus on the thing that I liked most, that was being a real estate broker. And I ended up going to the other side of the business, which was being a business owner and having to do all those administrative parts of the business that, it's part of the deal anyway.
Yep. Yeah. It's one of those things that almost everybody I've ever talked to that had a team that then went and became a brokerage. It's almost that same conversation, that you were just saying of that with hindsight, that they would have wished that they would have kept growing that team until they got it to a point where they were fully out of production and more of like that true CEO role before they made that move to the brokerage side. Because, a lot of people, make that move because maybe money savings or whatever, but they don't anticipate the time and the block of focus and worrying about E&O and cutting commission checks and broker compliance and all those things that become big distractions and so forth.
It costs more too. If you some people think like I'm paying 20% to the broker, or depending on your commission split. But when you have a business and you realize that in most cases, when you have a great business, you ended up netting like 30% of the gross commission income instead of 80. It's costly, it's distracting, and although it was good at the time because I ended up selling the business years later, and sometimes you cannot sell a team, right? Before you make that team become a real business. But looking back, I think it was if I had to do it again, I think I would stay as a team a little longer, perhaps structuring that team for a while before becoming a company or anything, or a brokerage, right?
Yep. Awesome, man. So, all right. So it sounds like, if I'm thinking timelines, this around 2006-ish, starting the brokerage. Well, then, 2007, the market started to turn, and then 2008 to 2012 was some rough times for a lot of people. But you were able to successfully sell that brokerage. So you obviously made it, and, through those tough times, and I'm sure they weren't without their struggles, but you stayed in the game and continued to grow and expand. And I'm curious with that because those that weren't in the market in between 2008 and 2012, I don't think can really fathom of what that was like. And I get that some markets were different, but for most, man, it was insane. What did you do during the Great Recession to shift, adapt, and number one, stay in the game, but then continue to grow and expand, so you didn't have to drop out? I mean, there's so many brokerages, so many agents, so many teams that became insolvent and had to shut down their doors and find other careers during that time. I mean, it was very difficult times.
Oh yeah. I remember the day that I did some research on MLS to see how many properties have been sold in the last 60 days. And in the whole cities that my office used to cover in a certain region here in the state of Massachusetts, there were only 20 something properties sold in 60 days. And I realized that, the market wasn't, there anymore, because my company alone, we had months that we sold 60 properties in 1 month, only my office, and the whole market, the whole real estate market, all offices combined, were not selling 20. And I decided that, I would take some time off. I would stay out of the business for a while. And that's when I decided to become a developer in Brazil. So during that time, my brother he decided to go to the short sale business, which was a great move. And I decided to take some time off the market. And I pretty much stayed out of the business for a few years at that time.
Yeah.
It was really tough.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, I mean, your brother was able then to pivot on the short sale, because I mean, for a lot of that were, staying as far as the real estate agent side of things, if you will, versus the real estate investment side. It's very difficult if in most markets, if you didn't pivot into REO and short sales and so forth. And, but then for you personally, you were able to focus your attention into development, which I'm guessing at that time, getting land for cheap and able to get deals and probably really flourished during that time. So you both, even though that you took a pause from the traditional real estate brokerage side, you both were able to focus in your own niches, in your own way, that had big opportunity during that time.
Yeah, that's what we did. And my brother actually kept going in the business for, doing short sales and loan modifications and helping people. And that actually paid out, after the recession, when the market started to move again. And I think most of the guys who worked with me at the time, they were focused on loan modifications and short sales at the time. Was, kept them going, and it was good. Wasn't as much good as it was in the golden days, but it kept them going, and they are doing so well nowadays as well.
Yep, love it. So then you mentioned that you ended up selling that brokerage. What led you to wanting to sell it? I mean, were you at a point where you thought you were just maybe going to focus on the development side and maybe focus on other things? I mean, what kind of led to that decision?
That was when I started doing this researches, and I realized that the market wasn't there anymore. I could have kept going, trying to be one of the real estate companies, but I think the money wasn't there. The buyers were not buying. The sellers could not sell anything because of buyers could not secure financing in most cases, and people didn't want to buy a house because it was proven to be a very bad deal after the real estate crash. And I decided to take a break and try something new at that time. But when I say I sold the company, it wasn't all like great thing. A year before, this happened in 2007. In 2006, I had an offer of some other company in town that made an offer to buy this business. It was like 10 times over what I sold in 2007. So since we had a big structure, everything was there. The cost of keeping the business running wasn't worth it at that time, and I had to make a business decision, and I made the call.
Okay, so when you took that break to focus on development, that was at the same time that you exited and sold it. So then, so you're doing the development side, having a lot of success there, but then obviously at some point you decide to jump back in to being a real estate company owner. And now, now you've got Signa Realty and so forth. I mean, what led to that, man? Was it just something that maybe you missed doing it? Opportunity seemed like there was more opportunity. Like, what led to you jumping back in and not just being fully focused on the development side? I know that you have both focuses now today, but what led to that decision of okay, let me go at this again, man?
Well, during those years that I was away from the brokerage business, I kept thinking about, if I always wanted to go back to the business, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted to create a business that if I was started on the business again, or if I was a real estate agent, I would like to work in that model, in that business. And I kept working in this business model for about 3 years and thinking, what the realtors, the agents, they want when they search for a place to work, and that was the main question that I had at the time, and I ended up creating Signa Realty because of that. So the answer that I came up when I asked myself this question: if I started in the business again, what kind of company would I like to be part of it? What kind of commission split? What systems would I have to have in place in order to generate business again? Since pretty much the technologies and so on and so forth are there. So it changed. The business changed a lot since I started back in 2001. And fundamentally, I don't think it changed that much. It's just the way you reach out to clients. Again, it's a people's business. It's a contact business, but nowadays you do it a little different. And I kept remembering that most of the agents that worked with me and at Century 21, at Remax, they wanted to have a higher commission split. So what's the highest commission split possible that someone can get? It's 100%. So I decided to create a business, that agents can come and have full support. It's like a high service company, but 100% commission, and they pay a flat fee per transaction. And I know that I'm not reinventing the wheel here. There are some other companies doing that, but the difference that we're doing here is our proposition value here. It's pretty much the service that we provide and the way we help our realtors and our agents to produce more, by the use of technology, by having the right broker support to, whenever they need, and by having the training, the necessary training to get going whenever they need. And I know it's different for each agent. So that's what Signa is all about. It's high commission, high service, and full support, even technology support, broker support, and training support. That's what the company is.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. And I spent a lot of time on your website and before our interview just to make sure I was, up to date on what's going on in your world and so forth. And I love the model, man. And I really love your perspective and how you approach this. And what I mean by that is most business owners, most brokers, most brokerages, and there's nothing wrong with this. I get that, we're in a for-profit business. We're not running nonprofits here. So, I'm not dogging anybody for this thought process, but most approach this of, okay, how can I make the most money on this model? Versus you with your experience. Because the reality is most broker owners, operators didn't typically have a ton of success as an agent and a team before going that route, right? Very, very little of them, at least that I know. So, but you going it from the amount or from the approach of, all right, what is the brokerage I would have always wanted to join that I wished existed that would allowed me to grow my team and never want to leave? Right. Build that, and then it's like, okay, let me build that, and then I'll figure out how to be profitable. Then it's my job I'll figure out how to be profitable some way, shape, form, or fashion. But let me build that thing, and because it is the traditional brokerage model, man. Especially with teams being the way that they are and continue to expand and grow and really be in the way of the future of this industry. It is so difficult with the typical big box brokerages out there that are on these split models and so forth, because margins get thin on a team as well. On a team leader, the bigger that you get, the lower that they get. And it's very difficult for team leaders to continue to grow and expand and recruit and so forth. And I love how, you've combined all aspects of it, right? Like there's nothing diminished on the services just because it's, a lower cost brokerage, it's high service, right? And then that high element of commission that they get to keep, man. And I love the model, dude. So what are you guys, where are you at with it? Is this something that is just in your local market? Is this something that is, outside of your local market?
No, we're doing, since this is the way we're working right now, we're working in the state of Massachusetts right now, but planning to expand to some other states as well. We've been getting a lot of calls from people from the states of New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and we're planning to do some expansion very soon. And as you said, remember when I told you that if I had the option, when I was a team, to be competitive on the market with my team members, I perhaps would stay it as a team for much longer. I believe this model, and as you said, I don't think there's nothing wrong with any brokerage models, any commission split. Every broker, need to decide what they can pay and what they need to pay the cost of keeping up with the company. But it's hard to have a team under, most of the commission splits offered today and be competitive. Whenever you have a team member that is, it's doing well, some other company calls them up and the competition end up hiring that agent because of they can offer higher commission splits. So we love the model. We love the idea of, having brokers working all over the states, real estate agents. We offer not only the support, but we made a partnership with a co-working company with offices throughout the state as well. So most of the agents, they have a home office today. They work from home and on the go. But if our agents, they decide to work from an office, if they want to meet with a client in a certain location, we have most of the prime locations throughout the state available for closings, for meeting clients, and even for working there every day. And the cost is extremely low. I mean, they don't have to pay an extra cost to use the offices. I mean, they pay a flat fee per transaction, and that's all included. And that's what I mean with a low cost.
Yep. I love it, man. So for those that are watching or listening, if they want to learn more about Signa Realty, where's the best place to go do that at?
Well, they can reach our website. It's signacareers.com. signacareers.com. And they can take a look and request a demo. We have people online all the time, and they can go over with all the technology that we offer today and the training package and the broker support. And I think, it's a great model. We've been getting a lot of calls and people, wanting to learn about this new business model. It's different than what we have here in the state of Massachusetts, but I think it's great for, agents, single agents, and especially for teams. It's a great environment for teams.
Yeah, I love it, dude. I love it, man. So, all right. So you got Signa, you got your real estate development business and the developments here in the U.S. and in Brazil. You got another startup that you're involved in Brazil as well. And I mean, you're a young dude, man. Like, where do you see all of this going? Where's your, and I know it can be tough, but what's your vision for the next? You've been at this game now for 20 years, and again, with being such a young dude and getting this business at such an early age, you got, if you choose to, you got another 30, 40 plus years that you can keep at this business, if you choose to. Like what do you see the next 20 years looking like?
Well, I love the business, Josh, and I like developing new ideas and new business models, like this startup that we're doing in Brazil right now. It's something. It's a game changer. Of course, it's a tough world out there. We don't know what's. We got funded recently by a group of investors, and it's going pretty well, actually. But I believe I want to work at Signa and make this company grow and help other agents to succeed. Sometimes in life you get to a point where you want to give back, not only financially, but you learn stuff as you go. And if I can, help other agents and come up with ideas that can facilitate, can improve the quality of the the agent's life, the buyers and sellers. I think that's what I'm looking for the next years.
Yeah.
If I'm allowed to live that long.
Yeah, I tell you, that's where it just becomes so fun is when you get to that point, like where you're at, where you don't need to do this like when you did when you first started, because you got to pay the bills. Now you're able to do this because it's your true passion and your love and the impact that it makes, and not that you didn't have the passion and love making the impact before. But it also was like, I got to pay the bills. And then now it's, all right, it's just that amazing part of life where you can, do it because it's just, you don't have to do it, but you're just so passionate about it. You can't not do it, where it's like, almost like your life's calling, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it, man. Sometimes I think, I don't know if you do that. It's perhaps a midlife crisis, but if I can look back and see, I wouldn't choose another profession. Real estate was so generous to me. Of course, I had tough times. It's not like I want to sell to, that it was all flowers all the way. I had, a very tough first year. I worked a lot. I ended up sacrificing some family time, because I had to work long hours to keep the business growing. But I love it. It didn't feel like working. It doesn't feel like working today. As you said, when you are passionate about something, and you are in the business not only for the money. Of course, you want to be profitable. Business must be, right? But you wanted to do something different, something that can change the quality of the people's lives and career. I can tell you, some of the agents that can make, let's say, an agent that it's making $100,000 a year, and it's taking 100% of that commission home instead of paying, a percentage to the brokerage firm. That money alone can be used to improve the quality of life of that agent, that professional. Even by investing back into the business, promoting his business, his brand, or perhaps bringing that money and giving more quality to the family as well. So I like the motto. It's good. I really.
Yeah, I do too, man. I'm excited for it. I know you're going to continue to blow this thing up, man. I'm excited to see where it goes. So I always end every podcast with this question, which is, all right, knowing everything that you know now today, with all the knowledge that you have from this whole entire experience, if Luciano today could go back 20 years and have a conversation with, your younger self when you first got into this business. And again, knowing everything you know now today, and give yourself a couple pieces of advice that you wished you would have known at that time when you were first started out. What would those two pieces of advice look like?
Well, that's a good question. I would say, don't give up. It's when you start in this business, it's very easy to give up because you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's hard to keep working and working. And sometimes the results, they take a little while to come. So don't give up is one of them. And the other one is find the balance between your personal life and work. I think I paid a high price for working so many long hours at some point, on the personal side. So I believe a balance is important. Otherwise, you get burned out. Your family relationships, you ended up paying for that in some other ways. So I would do more balance. You can produce a lot. I'm not saying that you should be, It's a lot of work, especially in the first year or two, but you can always, balance between your other important stuff as well.
Yep. I agree, man. I love it. And Luciano, man, I know how busy you are, and the fact that you took time out of a busy day to be here and your busy life to be here with us. It's been a lot of fun, been an honor, and truly appreciate you being here.
Josh, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate the invitation, and it's great. It was a great conversation with you. I hope this can help some people out there somehow, and I'm here whenever you need.
Yeah, no, it truly means a lot, man. And absolutely. I know that everybody that's watching and listening to this got a lot out of it. I know I did as well. And again, it's been amazing. And those watching and listening, as always, truly appreciate your support. Truly appreciate you guys being here. Keep up the amazing work. Keep kicking ass. And we will see you next time. Peace. I hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.